Hello, and welcome to the Smart Inclusion Podcast, where we connect the dots between investing in people, investing capital, and preserving the planet. Each episode brings you powerful stories from thought leaders like women, indigenous people, and unsung heroes who are driving the global energy transition forward. This podcast ties together the complex threads of sustainability, showing how the public can engage with new opportunities in energy transition and invest in their communities. Whether you're interested in the future of energy, climate change, sustainable investing, or understanding why these changes matter to you, Smart Inclusion delivers insightful conversations that break down what's happening, what's on the horizon, and how you can be part of this transformational movement. I'm your host, Todd Q Adams. Welcome to the Smart Inclusion Podcast, where we connect the dots between investing in people, investing capital, and protecting our environment. This is Equity Economics. I'm your host, Todd Q Adams. Today, we've got a really timely topic. In our clean energy transition, we have a serious work skills gap in this place. The good news is that there are a lot of jobs that are set to be created over the next decade and beyond. The challenge is that training people and workforce readiness is a serious challenge. Today, we're having Jason Rodriguez of Froliq over in Austin, Texas. Jason I've known Jason for quite a while, working in the energy and utilities sector and space for a while. He's a long-term, has a lot of respect within the industry. However, he's going to be talking about innovative technological methods, as well as innovative social methods that we're addressing this. So we're going to jump right in. Good to see you, Jason.
Todd, pleasure to be here. Good afternoon. Looking forward to a great conversation.
Absolutely. So, Jason, one of the things is that I've known you pretty much in this space as a thought leader. I've known you from, being at Z Prime, doing market research, holding events where leaders within the energy and utilities industry convene. And now you're doing, you're addressing workforce challenges as a founder. I know a lot of people that know you probably are curious as the same thing. Please just kind of share with everybody your journey and your why for doing this.
Sure. Well, it's definitely an unexpected journey. And if you would have asked me 6 years ago that I'd be sitting in the founder's chair, trying to raise funds, trying to talk and tell a story and immerse people with virtual and augmented reality, I probably would have said you're a little crazy at that time. But as I think as fate would have it, that here we are today. But let's talk about how I got here. So you mentioned it quite correctly. So Z Prime primarily focused on thought leadership, research, and media in the clean tech space. We're founded in 2007. But one of the great things about Z Prime is I've got to meet so many leaders, 200 leaders across the U.S., all different parts of the organizations. But one of the themes that come up in our research and the pain points for utilities that we heard over and over there was two things. One is, how do we get consumers engaged? How do we do something different so they really just understand the complexity of the energy sector? So this has been a theme since we were founded in 2007 doing smart grid research. The other theme we continue to hear is workforce, the graying of the workforce. And how do we build a robust workforce? How do we keep smart workers? How do we get them in the job funnel? So when you hear this problem over and over, you kind of start to see that there's an opportunity here. So going back to 2015 and 2016, when we were hosting events, hosting startup events, one of the technologies we ran into at our own startup event was we saw someone doing virtual reality to teach someone dance lessons. They had a demo at our startup competition. And when I saw this technology at that time, I asked the developer who was at our event, like, hey, how did you do this? And how difficult was this? And he gave me this story about that his passion was dancing. His name was Jorge Ortiz, and that he decided to create a dancing lesson in virtual reality. So fast forward to a year later when we're doing another startup event, I was really looking for someone in the utility sector who could come and talk about how this technology is being applied in the utility space. Well, about 20 emails later and a lot of phone calls, I could not find one person to do this. So I ended up going back to Jorge and saying, "Hey, look, I think virtual and augmented reality can make an impact in this space. Would you be willing to make a few proof of concepts for us for an event we're doing?" And he said yes. So about 4 months later, we had four proof of concepts about energy engagement and utility line worker training. We brought those to the event. We showed them to Austin Energy. And within that moment of 6 months, we realized that we had a really unique opportunity in front of us and how to do something different within the utility industry. And ever since then, that passion and focus to take this new way of engaging utilities and turn it into what is now Froliq has been part of the journey. It has not been simple. It has been an accident by all means, but that's how we got to where we are today in terms of Froliq, which is focused on clean energy workforce development for the clean energy transition.
That's interesting. So you use the events where the leaders, the utility leaders actually attended, and you actually use that as a demonstration platform, is what I'm hearing. And then that is where they were able to say, I want to see this in my organization actually used with line workers in the field. Can you give, that's interesting. Kind of give an example, a project or a customer where you are actually doing that to kind of bring this to life?
Yeah, great question. And one of the key things and projects we have going on is our partnership with Exelon. So
Hmm.
we work with their 6 operating companies and their workforce development team. And the primary focus there is to build the clean energy workforce funnel, particularly for trades jobs. So as a lot of you may know,
Hmm.
filling these jobs is difficult, and getting people in those jobs who traditionally would not know about them is even more difficult. And so, what we work with the Exelon teams is we work with interns, high school students, middle school students, and even transitioning workers through different programs. And one program in particular is called the Exelon STEM Academy. So this earlier this summer, we went out to their Exelon STEM Academy, and we showed them our line worker training safety application. We showed them our EV driving vehicle application, and we use this across the 60 operating companies. And the primary focus is how do you create interest and spark interest and curiosity to pursue these careers? And we do this across their organizations. It happens multiple times a year. But at the end of the day, the primary focus is to build consensus and some understanding of how you actually would act or conduct a safety training, use a bucket truck to remove a branch from that's fallen on a pole. And that's one good example. And this partnership is now going on its third year. And at the end of the day, we're committed to helping build the funnel of workers within the clean energy space. But you can only do that if you meet them where they are. If you're trying to reach them after high school or even in their junior or senior year, you're most likely too late.
No, that's interesting because, having worked, significantly a lot in this space myself, I see that pipeline that you talk about, the high school students, the labor unions, and partnering, and the utilities partnering. It's really, I mean, we're talking about an aging workforce. We're talking about a workforce that's significantly older. Many of them are prime for retirement. And what you're really talking when you say meet them where they are how do you find ways to engage, attract, and retain the next generation of workforce, of workers to ensure that we have a clean energy economy. We have people that are ready and skilled for this. And just kind of talk to me like what kind of reactions and feedback are you getting from people? Because I've heard even in organizations that there's a generational difference in terms of the way people respond to the technology. Talk to me about how younger people are now engaged and have come alive as a result of that.
Yeah, well, we're dealing with a generation who has been connected their whole life, and it is their mode of how they communicate. It's a part of their unique DNA of how they're built, which is very different. Even looking at my generation, which is Gen X, right? I didn't have internet or a cell phone until I was 24, 25. So this connected generation is just learning differently, which is actually a broader conversation there, Todd, of we need to start thinking of how we disrupt how we innovate and bring on new learners and educate our students. We do this in technology. It's very normal to disrupt technology supply chains, technology ways to market, but we have not applied that same way of thinking to how we educate this workforce or our younger students. We're still applying the things from 50, 60 years ago and thinking it translates to how we enter the workforce there. So that's a broader statement, but I think it's actually very critical. And it's that as an energy industry, we can actually transfer knowledge to other industries, how we bring new workers on there. So that's the first part. I think the second part, going back to the question, is what we're trying to do at the end of the day is introduce technology and accessibility, which is so important, especially to students who would not otherwise have access to new ways of thinking. Think if your first interaction with an iPad was your senior year in high school or at a job. You are already behind that
Hmm.
more fortunate or affluent families who introduced this technology to them when they were 5 or 6 year olds. So they're already behind in terms of the tools they're going to need to use in their daily jobs. So by being able to partner with companies and introduce virtual reality early, we're giving them molds and tools to communicate in a way they already know how, in a way they're already familiar with. And this is just this connected age. And if we do not provide them that opportunity, we're actually missing tapping into a skill set that we don't even know the potential of, because this is not something we were familiar with in how we were grown up, how we were trained, and how we were mentored.
Yeah, you made me think of something because this is also a space where the existing workforce is predominantly, it's Gen X, uh, baby boomers, and white males, and many of them who are really at the precipice of retirement in many instances. So having to broaden sort of the tent and bring solutions. So it's the technology, but speak to me also about partnering so that you can also begin to attract, because women, uh, Black people, Latinos, different people, because we have to now find people to work and train people to work, and it has to be from and our world is increasingly. I think my understanding is that millennials and Gen Zers are already majority diverse, and so that is the workforce. And talk to me
Yes.
about culturally competent approaches and the technology, and what are you seeing when you're from that perspective and lens as well?
Yeah, so I use an example from here in Austin, Texas, with our partner, Austin Energy, where we partnered with Houston Tillotson College the past 2 years to go out with their summer academy. So we bring out the virtual reality demonstrations, but with that, we have engineers from Austin Energy come and talk with them about electric vehicles, come and talk with them about the electric distribution system. And this is happening with middle school students. And that's one example. Another example is with our partnership with Exelon, where we were in Delaware. They have a Hispanic festival, and it's meant for students and primarily Spanish speaking families. We also go out there and we partner with their teams who already have all the information there. They have people there from all levels of the organization, and we have their virtual reality experiences to complement and actually so their parents can come and talk to someone at the booth, but then their younger children can come and take a 3 minute tour of a hydro plant or play a mini game and learn about energy. And also going back, we also partner with HBCUs, also with some of the Exelon partnership there, and we will demo on site to some of their young engineering and computer science students. So that's three examples, but that's a good example of a meeting this community where they're at,
Yep.
and being very intentional with that effort, and the impacts and the feedback that everyone who partners in those events gets is just phenomenal. And then those students are inspired. They want to talk about insurance trips. They want to talk about new careers, and that's the key to sparking some new interest, and then making it the follow up commitment is also there.
That's awesome. And when I think of what you just talked about, you're talking about there's obvious workforce preparedness and the skills gap, and it's the how you do it, and that which is culturally competent and connecting with people, as you say, where they are. The HBCUs, also the Hispanic festivals, community engagement. and also understanding the benefits. Community benefits, as you know, is also a significant component of making investments in communities, which a lot of utilities, as they're seeking federal funding, Justice 40, workforce investment. We begin to look at community and labor engagement and all of those other dynamics. How do you see Froliq and what you're doing fitting into driving more community benefits as we deploy more and more clean energy generation and helping utilities actually improve their community benefits plans? What do you see in terms of being able to help in that capacity?
So primarily, Froliq, we envision this as we are just a supercharged partner enabler, right? You're putting your best efforts forward. You got the funding. You have the experts in front of you. You have a curriculum. What you can do with immersive learning is just take it a step further. Going back to that piece that we talked about earlier is if you can meet them and tap into a unique skill set that these young connected learners have, and this is across the demographic spectrum, that you're pulling something out and engaging them in a way that they're just not used to. They're used to modes of your traditional classroom. And if you can get them first, it is cool. And that's usually the first reaction we're getting. This is cool. The second is, oh, okay, I can actually accomplish this and see what it's like to do some type of safety training
Yes.
within the application. And that's even better. And then third is when they start asking questions of, how do I become an intern? What type of college degree or what type of training would I need to actually get into a trades job or
Sure.
to apply for a distribution year job? That's how you get this layered approach of building that workforce funnel.
Sure. And just as we getting closer to the end, Jason, what would you say are, because we know also there's a lot of other external factors such as policy. That could be policy around funding for workforce, that can be policy as it relates to enabling these programs in schools, funding it. What are the policy drivers? Because you're a catalyst and you mentioned an enabler. What else externally is needed to actually help you sort of help drive this workforce skills gap?
Goes back to what I talked about a little earlier. We just need a new way of thinking, this breath of fresh air. Let's think of this as a clean slate because we need to be thinking like this. If we're thinking in modes of funding, partnerships, and it's very linear, it's very administrative, we are not going to get to where we need to be. We're gonna miss the moment, in my opinion, or we're going to leave millions behind the moment. And that's not what we want. So one of the things I advocate for is to look at a model that's worked, which is JROTC or ROTC in high schools, and that model and how it's been a catalyst to really just invigorate how our military attracts and creates new workers. But it's not just about the military, it's the opportunities they get while they're in the military. They can earn a college degree, they learn a skill set, and then they come out and become citizens and they're entrepreneurs or business owners. They're high level contributing to society. So what I propose is we need that parallel for clean energy jobs. So let's say you come out, and I'm an electrician for 2 years. You get paid for the training, but you're also if coming out that 2-year program or 4-year, you're maybe granted something to maybe you can buy a house or you have funding to go to college. And it's a way for us to all contribute, all be a part of the process. And I think you actually just get a much more just knowledgeable workforce about the problems at hand. So they become much better citizens and they also become much better informed in terms of the energy infrastructure that we have to build to meet the clean energy transition challenges. And we've done big things before. And why not do it again? Why not start in middle school? In high school, they're already learning the trades that they can come out and have a skill set or some type of credential that gives them 2 steps ahead, 2 steps a leg up in terms of how they actually reach these careers. And by the way, they could pursue funding in college maybe 4 years later. Maybe they use it for a down payment at a home. We just have to think differently of how we attract workers into this. And we have a model that has worked before. And why not apply some type of thinking with partnerships, government support, and then get the education sector involved there. I think we have the model to do something really, really transformational in terms of really how we meet this moment of getting and building a clean energy workforce.
You know, and as I'm listening to you, a lot of what you're talking about is, doing some things that have already been done in the past and we've moved away from. So I think back to when I was in high school, and you did have skilled trade programs in schools, or you talk about the ROTC and the engagement, excuse me, in this space, and also driving the skilled trades. We've seen the deindustrialization of America, and with that, you've seen labor union membership decline over the last decades. However, the good news is I just saw a data point that says that clean energy jobs have, I think, a little over 10% of the workforce is unionized. We are seeing a lot of skilled trades are needed. I received a call just the other day from somebody asking about pipe fitters being needed for long duration energy storage, and to what degree pipe fitters would be needed for that, as well as, and this is utility scale, long duration energy storage, electricians, and other skilled trades. And so there is this resurgence of that. So you're in the right space. We do need we need a reset, though. We need a reset on our approach, and a reset and something to attract and retain younger people and a wider tent, more diverse people, and we need more women in the space as well. And the reason we do is because the numbers, it's purely a numbers game. In order to meet the number of people needed, we have to tap into everyone. Talent is evenly distributed. Otherwise, we won't have a successful clean energy transition. So I applaud you for this. It's interesting how you share that. One takeaway as well is that you leverage what you were already doing at Z Prime. You had the audience, and you listened to them in terms of customer engagement and workforce being their challenges. And so that takeaway is that whatever space you're in, you may be in a position to listen, to learn, and to understand what challenges are and solve some of those problems. And if you are a founder or thinking of starting a business, leverage where you are to think about to position with the relationships so that when you're fundraising or when you're seeking customers, those same people you can go to them. And so with that, we just want to, if there's any last point that you want to share or leave with us, something that'll really, really resonate with somebody who is, I'm in high school, I'm in, a younger person, and they really are looking for a career move, and don't know what to quite do with their life. What would you share with them in 30 seconds?
I'd share with them to go out there into the front lines, go wait tables for 2 years, go get a pre-apprenticeship somewhere, go work at a shipping dock, go be an Amazon driver, go to the front lines, listen to the workers, listen to the needs, pay attention to all the small details around you if you have that opportunity, because you will walk away much richer in terms of understanding the nuances of how things are done, which will translate to you becoming a much either stronger founder, a much more informed college student, or just a much more informed citizen in terms of how things work. We have gotten away from that. We have shied away from some of these jobs when those are the things that make America work. And we have to stop taking those jobs for granted. And my suggestion, go get that non-traditional understanding of education, on-the-job training from a non-traditional place, especially places that have been maybe looked upon as maybe not advantageous to one's career, but take that and use that as a superpower to get you to where you want to go.
Well, that's awesome. So, what Jason, that takeaway I hear from that is, have an array of experiences, have as many experiences as possible where you're actually engaging with people and solving problems. And no matter where you are, that is an opportunity to understand an organization, to understand its problems and the skills that you may acquire, whether you're working in a restaurant or whether you're doing something that's anything temporary. Look at where the skills are transferable that may lend themselves to this clean energy economy. And right now, you're absolutely right. There's a significant amount of opportunity to do that. So thank you, thank you, Jason, for sharing those insights. Jason, Rodriguez, CEO and founder of Froliq, who is disrupting workforce innovation and is addressing the future of work in real ways using immersive technology. And so with that, all of that, as we look into the future, we have to really understand that ultimately investing in all people, investing capital, and protecting our environment, just as Jason Rodriguez actually just really laid out, is fundamental to this energy transition. And that is the essence of equity economics. And so, Jason, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for sharing your expertise, your insights, where we're going. And I also want to thank you for inspiring the folks that are listening and watching this podcast. And I want to
thank you, Todd.
Absolutely. And of course, we have to connect again. I know we missed each other when you were in Houston and I was traveling. So we'll touch on that as well. And I want to thank everybody for just listening. Thank you. Appreciate your insights, your likes, your comments, and also give your insights as to how do you see the future of work. And I want to thank you. And as always, embrace equity economics and continue to fight. Thank you.